Today we'll be talking about back to school with artificial intelligence, and this webinar, as I mentioned, is co-organized by the STEM Alliance, Scientix, as well as Microsoft, and is part of the European Code Week 2021. Now, to get a greater experience out of this webinar, we ask you to open the chat box, and this is where we will be sharing some useful information as well as links with you throughout the webinar. And also, since this is an interactive webinar where you can interact with the speakers, please feel free to share your questions in this chat window, because we will be collecting them and address them to the speakers in the end. And also, the images of the speakers and the videos you see here, you will find a button in the top, like in the button, to actually fit the background to the frame, so you can see our names and see a better video. Now, you're currently unmuted, but if you have questions later in the Q&A part, we will unmute you if you raise your hand. And this is already the first link that we are sharing with you. And the chat box, you can now click on the participation list, which is there to validate that you actually attended this webinar. And we need this to prove the event took place, and we can continue organizing events like this one in the future. Also, if you're interested in a certificate of participation, this is the only way to request one. All right, and with this, let's move on to our agenda for today. We will begin with a keynote on computer science and education. We will then move on to a panel discussion with our three speakers, Kyriakos Koursaris, Marco Neves, and Vania Neto. And we will be discussing best practices in computer science, artificial intelligence in education from different perspectives. Finally, you will be able to ask questions to the speakers, and you can do this throughout the webinar. But in the end, during the Q&A session, that is when we will address them. So please share your questions in the chat. Now, before we continue with computer science and education, let me just quickly introduce myself and the STEM Alliance. And here I am very happy as the STEM Alliance project manager to host this webinar today and to be talking about these topics. Now, the STEM Alliance departed from the very simple observation that our societies are facing a number of challenges, which include demographic transformations, lack of interest, and low performance in STEM subjects. Now, if you feel you have any other challenges in your STEM classes, or maybe you see any STEM challenges related to this in our societies, please feel free to share them in the chat. I'll be very curious to hear your thoughts about this. But some points that I think are important as well are issues such as climate change, mobility, and energy. And this is why the STEM Alliance, as an international initiative, brings together educators, STEM industries, and European ministries of education to promote STEM education and careers to young Europeans. So you see here we're 21 companies from all over the world, and if you're interested in staying up to date, follow us on our social media channels or sign up to the latest newsletter. And if you're interested in our activities over the coming months, then I invite you to follow the Back to School campaign this year, which happens under the tagline of STEM Career Days from the 2nd to the 19th of November. So stay tuned for this. And with this being said, let me introduce you to the first topic. Now, I am quickly going to have a look into the chat, and I see that Vania Neto will have to take over this part because unfortunately Alexa Joyce could not join us today. She had some personal, some personal obligations, so I'm very sorry. But nonetheless, Vania Neto will tell us more about the Computer Science Curriculum and Artificial Intelligence at Microsoft. Now, let me just quickly introduce Vanya Neto. She is Education Skills and Learning Lead for Microsoft Western Europe. She's responsible for the education scaling strategy. And apologies. Vanya, how are you today?
Good. I'm good. Thanks, Jorn. Thanks for your introduction, and I hope you get better there. But well, first of all, I would like to apologize on behalf of Alexa. Unfortunately, Alexa got a health problem, and she had to go to a health center, so she's not available today. I hope she gets better soon as well, and I'll try to do my best to replace Alexa, even if it is last minute. But I am sure that well, if you have any questions to her, she will be happy then to address them afterwards. You can ask them directly on LinkedIn and address her there. She's always happy to answer your questions. Or of course we can send her an email afterwards with all the questions that you had for her. But first of all, I would like to start with exactly what we are doing right now with as Microsoft, what we are doing with European Schoolnet, and especially because we are, even though we are part of the STEM Alliance, and as Bjorn already shared with you, all what is the goal of the STEM Alliance and what we are doing. Nevertheless, we thought it would be very important to strengthen our relationship with European Schoolnet, especially having in mind that we have a mission, right, as Microsoft, to enable and to empower every student on the planet to achieve more. And we know that European Schoolnet also has a mission to support ministries of education, schools, teachers, and relevant education stakeholders. But at the end, we have to address, the target audience, which are the students, and that's what we aim at, and that's why we are doing this, this closer partnership to ensure that the students of today will have, the skills that they need to address the world of tomorrow. And besides our joint vision, I would just highlight that we will be doing more and more activities to promote STEM. And of course, this webinar is just an example of those activities. And we want to make sure that all of you teachers that are so important to the education system, that you feel comfortable and have the resources and the tools that you need. And we support you as best as we can, so you can also, support the students. We are our primary, of course, the main clients, I would say, for education system. And we will have a lot of resources that we will make available through European Schoolnet as well. And if after this call you have any any questions specific about one of these resources, we will be happy, of course, to send you further information about that. I'll do my best to, well, during this call, to show you. But specifically for this first webinar, we would like to share with you one of the things that Alexa has been working personally, which is a computer science and AI curriculum that Microsoft has built, and it is available for free for all of you. And why did we do this? And why we are, making this available? Because we know that many in all the countries, right, all the governments and all the teachers are looking, how can we better support our students to be ready? How can we make sure that we integrate computer science in the curriculum in the way that it does not make that look like, it's a very strange thing, that's very difficult, etc. We want to make this accessible, and making sure that the access to it is also equitable, right? And it's as simple and as I would say closer to the students as possible. But for that, of course, we need also to make sure that the teachers are ready for that, and the governments are ready for that. We know that it's a very, it's very dispersed, the way that, well, the countries in the world are addressing this situation. Some of them really have computer science curriculums, some of them don't, and some of them have really, mixed environments. And in Europe, it's the same, that some countries are more advanced than others. But why do we build a computer science toolkit? Why do we make this available? So, to be honest, we want to make sure that for all education institutions and for all teachers, there is a toolkit. There is an asset, a global asset that they can use, like out of the box, and that offers them guidance to be able to integrate computer science in their kindergarten to 13 in their school. And of course, we also want to make sure that as tech industry, we are also supporting, and that is also a way of doing it, and making this available for all of you for free. So we have what we say like the Computer Science Curriculum Toolkit. There is an assets, like a set of assets that you can have access, that you can and it has a step-by-step how you can integrate the computer science curriculum inside your curriculum, that what you are trying to teach to your students. And you will have access also to a master plan that will show you all the components and all the different bits and pieces where it's composed, and then you can really pick and choose what you believe it's best for your students regarding the age or the goals that you have for your learning experience. So this curriculum was built taking advantage, of course, of our technology and the vast resources that we have and that we offer. Of course, it was also built to make sure that we are problem solving, right? It's a problem-based learning, and making sure that the students will be ready to solve problems. We know that this is one of the most important skill for this 21st century, right? Problem solving. And also making sure that we are using cutting-edge technology, normally which are not present in the national curriculum. It's normally not used. And first of all, and last but not least, that it's mapped to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And this is very important also in matching what Bjorn said in the beginning with sustainability, the mobility, and all the new challenges that we have with climate change. This is more and more important, so that the students understand how they can solve the world's problems with the use of technology as well. Just for you to have, I just give you an highlight, and of course, I really invite you to dig in. And if you have any difficulties or any questions, of course, you can address them through LinkedIn for me or to Alexa. But we know that we had to make it simple and at the same time, relevant for what you do, and so. The content is organized in domain levels, and I will show you which they are. It's 3 domain levels. Then they are, under that we have 3 big ideas, and then the idea is that the students will solve 3 big questions that it will be addressed, right? And then learning is also defined in 3 specific learning competences in that sense. Computational thinking, data literacy, and design thinking. These are the 3 that we considered that are the most relevant for this topic, and that are in that sense enhanced by the use of this computer science toolkit. This is very small, I'm sorry, but when you look at it in the computer science toolkit, you'll be able to pin it and to make it bigger. But just to let you know that in terms of the big domains, we have working with technology, working with data, and working with computers. So the 3 big domains that we have, and then we also have software development, robotics and automation, data and AI, platform and cloud, human-computer interaction, and cybersecurity, which we believe are the 6 most important domains under those big ideas. And we hope that this is, and then of course, as you can see, then it's mapped with the different ages of the students and the levels that they are. And we have suggestions of activities for all of these, ages and levels that you can do with your students to enhance these competences in them. Moreover, we also have some hands-on tools that you can access, for example, Azure for Students, and you can also have your students, if they are really tech savvy, to go through our MS Learn platform. It's free as well, so they can just do their own learning path as they wish, and has, of course, as you show them which are the best content that they can consume. But it's something that they can also, explore further and make sure that they are ready to and feel comfortable to have an autonomous learning. And this platform was also built for that, to make sure that they have the tech skills that they need for the future, but also they can choose which technology, what are their age, what is the profession, for example, that they would like to have, and then they can also have suggested learning paths as well, and they can start from an early age, digging into that and understanding what they like and what they don't, and this is something that, of course, you can also incentivize with your students. I will also leave in this presentation the two important links. One of them is for the blog post, where you'll have all the information about the white paper and the Computer Science Toolkit, and access it for free, as I told you. And we also have a computer science curriculum training course, where it's a 2-hour course where you can better understand how you can implement this in your classroom, because probably you are thinking, Vanya, you are crazy. How am I going to do that in my classroom? But then you please go and take 2 hours of your time, go through this computer science curriculum training course and do that. And after that, I'm sure you will be feeling more comfortable, and you'll have the examples on how to use that with your students. Of course, you don't need to use the full the full deck and the full scope of it, but I'm pretty sure that you will find very interesting and practical activities that you can do with the students that would for sure change their lives and their competences and their skills for the future. So this is our aim, this is our goal. I hope that you also share this and I'm also sure that you will find this very interesting. And if you have any doubt, any difficulty using this, come to me through LinkedIn. I'll be happy to talk to you about it, or Alexa, of course. She's the big head behind this. So I hope I was good enough replacing her. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vanya, and thanks also for setting the scene for all the skills and competences needed when we talk about computer science. So I'm now actually really excited, first of all, to see all the engagement in the chat. We have a lot of messages received, and I see there are people joining from so many different places. This is really nice. Also, with the cameras on, it's great to see so many faces, and I'm really happy you're all here today. But I'm also happy to now move on to the discussion panel, and apologies for just giving half of the introduction on Vanya in the beginning. Let me continue this at this point. So I'm as I said, very excited now for this panel discussion that we have on best practices in computer science and artificial intelligence in education. Now, before we start the discussion, let me actually introduce you to our panelists, Vanya Neto, Marko Neves, and Kyriakos Koursaris. Now, Vanya Neto is Education Skills and Learning Lead for Microsoft Western Europe, responsible for the education skilling strategy and the relationship with education institutions, faculties, educators, and students. She's deeply involved in the AI skills initiatives developed in Western Europe, as well as the Agenda for Digital Skills, supporting Europe's digital transition goals. So welcome again, Vanya, and thanks also for jumping in today. Now, moving on to Marko Neves from Interact Ideas. Marko is consultant on digital education and artificial intelligence in education. He's not only a computer science teacher and an educational project coordinator, but also an expert on technologies applied in learning environments such as AI, robotics, virtual reality and augmented reality, the Internet of Things, and 3D printing, as well as how they facilitate the development of a skills framework in the context of the digital transformation. Now, Marco, how is it going today?
Hi, Bjorn, and take the chance to say hi, Vanya and Kyriakos, and to the other participants are here with us today. I'm feeling great, and it's a huge pleasure to be here with you today and discussing such an important topic.
Great, and it's good to have you here. Thanks so much. Now, last but not least, we have the pleasure to have Kyriakos Koursaris in our panel today. And Kyriakos is Technology Director at the United Lisbon International School, where he facilitates technology-rich teaching and learning. He guides collaborative curricular innovation, as well as training and support, while encouraging the creative, independent, and responsible use of technology. Now, Kyriakos, it's great to have you here today. How are you?
Hello, Bjorn. Hello, everyone. It's great to be here. It's great to be back to another STEM Alliance event and in such a great company once again to be sharing best practices around these really interesting and really relevant topics regarding education. Good to be here.
Great. And let me start right away with a question to you. Now, we've received several questions from the participants already, and also both in the registration form and in the chat here. Many of them actually revolved around the question how to integrate technology or artificial intelligence in their classrooms. So, Kyriakos, how do you teach or integrate technology in the school curriculum, in the classroom, and what kind of resources do you recommend to use?
Oh, great. Excellent. Thank you for that question, Bjorn. So I'll just skip here. Hopefully I was able to change the slide. So integrating technology is something that has been quite a hot topic, let's say, for the past years. And let's just think about, since now we're dividing our timeline pre-COVID and post-COVID. Obviously, pre-COVID, there was a big surge, a big, let's say, initiative to introduce one-to-one technology programs in educational systems, as well as making sure that students, teachers, and schools are being accompanied properly in the, let's say, the personalization of education as we know it. And obviously, with COVID hitting, everything kind of like accelerated 10 years in the future. We went and picked up the tools that we needed in order to give a response to the necessities of the pandemic, and obviously trying to catch up with our mindset as well, which was at the time very new, very young, I would say. But when it comes to technology integration, I think the first topic, as you can see on the slide, is context. No matter the tool we're using or the situation we have in our hands, context is really important when we're introducing technology in the classroom, because we need to make it relevant to our students. We need to make it real. We need to make it. We need to make the topic, make the connection, let's say, with the real world, which is why it's really important that we focus on the why we are doing whatever we're doing instead of the how, because there's hundreds of tools nowadays. There's a plethora of hardware, software, and tools in our disposal. But the important here is always very much it's focusing on these learning outcomes. And computer science is a learning outcome because it directly connects to computational thinking and the ability to resolve problems that can be tackled eventually by machines, because it's all about resolving small problem in a way that then eventually can scale up. And that's what technology allows us to do. Obviously, resources can come in various forms. Professional development is a resource for integrating technology, because our teachers need to be properly trained to do what they have to do. And like the Computer Science Toolkit is a professional development path that an educator can pick up and invest their time in it. Space is really important. involving the community and investing in the appropriate space where students are learning in the modern space where learning is self-directed is extremely important. Having the leadership setting the tone and the next steps, making everyone on the same page is, again, a resource that needs to be integrated. And of course, the infrastructure, Wi-Fi, the devices themselves, and the access to these technologies is crucial. United Lisbon International School is quite a young school, and we are a Microsoft Showcase school very recently. And being able to have access to resources that allow this personalization of the educational path is extremely important.
Thank you so much. And I will give a similar question to our second speaker, Marco. So from an educational point of view, but also from a curriculum point of view, Kyriakos has talked about the ways that technology and AI can be integrated. Now, what do you think? How can artificial intelligence be integrated into educational systems? How can this be integrated into the curriculum?
Thank you very much for your question. It's a very pertinent question. And only that question, we will need a webinar to be able to spot on the different topics around that. Nowadays, we know that we are living tremendous times. So this could be some of the most challenged times that humankind live until now. And of course, it put us a lot of questions in terms of how we need to think about education. And in this particular, I'm very critical in terms how education systems work today. And I'm completely in favor that we should apply very precise reformer curriculums in terms of how the curriculum is delivered today. And I think that will be needed for us to put in terms of our curriculum in upside down. And why I'm saying that is that the challenge that we are facing today, and not only the challenge, but also the opportunities that will be given to our students, they are completely different for anything else that we ever exist. So what it was in terms of our experience and our past, in terms of even our life as a whole, what our students, the young generation, will face is completely different from everything that we can imagine. For example, if you just imagine a child that was born today in 2021, try to imagine how will be the world in 2040, for example. And my biggest concern is that educational systems are not up to stay in terms of the change that we needed. And of course, we are here talking about STEM mainly, and also artificial intelligence and related with computer science. And nowadays, it is not just a topic of the technical teachers. This is something that we clearly need to understand. Nowadays, the digital transformation to AI, to IoT, big data, and all these technologies that support this huge digital transformation, they are impacting everything. The way that, for example, if we look at language, with this big model language that are able to produce text, original text. If we take, for example, in terms of history, the tools, in terms of health, in terms of math, and all around. And that's why I have this position that we should take a completely different look in terms of education. But of course, this is my position. Another thing is that we already have, and the things that we can do as a teacher. And most important is for us to have a completely different perspective in terms not be afraid to work in different ways in what is possible right now. And for example, one of the most important things to me is that we talk about these things with our students, that we show them clear what is happening in terms of being able to conscientize and they clear understand that not only in terms of the technical challenge, the social challenge, even environment challenge, we need them for them to be clear, informed about that. And I think this is clear the first thing that we should do with our students.
Thank you so much. And I think this already relates to what Kyriakos mentioned. It's about the context and making this relevant to the students and answering the question of why we're doing this and connecting it to the real world. Now, the next question will be to Vanya, and I want these first questions to be just like setting the scene, what the three of you think about how this can be integrated into class. So, Vanya, what resources would you recommend to further develop the skills in computer science and artificial intelligence, and how can this be integrated into the classroom? And if you have any reactions to the previous speakers, of course, feel free to react.
Of course, a classic. Yeah. I'm muted. So I was just saying. So of course, I second what Kyriakos and Marco just mentioned. I think that more than me, they are experts. They work daily with institutions, with students, and with other teachers as well. In our side, what we do is that we try to give you the tools that we believe you need to support the work that teachers are doing. So to be honest, in terms of resources and what we believe you could be doing, so I will share this one. So one of the things that I personally believe and I think that Microsoft is doing a very strong work is on the teachers' professional development, because even though we probably in this call, we do have, in this webinar, we do have teachers that already are power users. I saw that like 89% of our attendees were already using some kind of computer science in the classroom, which of course I know it's a niche in terms of the full education ecosystem. And so all of you here should be ambassadors of this, this what the students need, what the younger generations need, as as Marco and Kiri just talked about. And the relevance of the teacher is so important that, of course, if the teachers do not feel comfortable enough to talk about these topics and to integrate technology and make it, make the students seize it in a way that they will be able to master it, and especially because we don't know how their life is going to be, right? We don't know what the world will look like, and after the pandemic, as Kyriakos said, there's a world before and a world after. And even if before these topics were already very important, now I think they are just crucial, and everything that we do probably is already too late, or not that late, but we are already trying to catch up time, and that's why we created a lot of resources, not the only one that I already shared with you, like computer science curriculum, but many others that help you be better prepared to talk to these topics with your students. For example, we have an AI Business School for Education course, which in reality is nothing more but to open the mindset of how can AI be used in education and what are the implications of AI in the future of education, and in the future of of us all in the end. And so this is something that we should all be thinking about, because we already have AI embedded in most of the things that we already do, even though we don't realize, right? When we have all the cookies and all the things that sometimes chases, right? When we go and ask and search for an item on internet, and then all of a sudden many items like those start to appear in our threads. So we need to be aware of that, and our students need to understand how technology works so they can master their own future as digital citizens. And this is, I think this is very, very important, and this is very in the core of what we are doing. Of course, we have Minecraft. So this is what we have as our game-based learning technology. So this is something that we use, and that we in fact Microsoft has bought Minecraft, as you know, and Minecraft, and we have developed Minecraft education specifically because we see the how good game-based learning can be, and how much students love Minecraft, and how it can really have power to make them understand that computer games are not only for amusement, they can also learn through that process, and that's what we really incentivize. I can only probably just mention that we will have also regarding Code Week. We are launching a new Minecraft Global Build Challenge in partnership with UNESCO. I think all of you should try this with your students because this is really good. I haven't tried it. I always tried it with my 8-year-old girl. So she loves Minecraft. So normally she's my beta tester. She has not done it yet because lack of time, but probably this weekend. So it's peace with nature. So this is about, of course, also sustainable development, and we want to make sure that kids understand the global challenges of this world and the climate change and all of that through Minecraft, and it's a very good way for them to do that. And of course, you can ask your kids to participate, and your students to, and you can incentivize them to do that. They can do the submissions until the 19th of November, sorry, and we really invite you all to at least try it. And if you don't feel that you know yet enough about Minecraft to use it in your classroom and do game-based learning, we do have coming up a new edition for teachers only on November the 10th, and it will be 5 weeks duration. It's 1 hour per week, so it's not much of your time. But after that, I'm sure that you will be, also a fan of Minecraft, and you will be very, very comfortable in using in your classroom. At least, so we expect.
Thanks a lot, Vanya. And picking up on that, I would like to direct the next question to Kyriakos. So Vanya mentioned Minecraft and game-based learning. So you are the technology director in your school. What do you think how this game-based learning is, like what role does it play? How is this important in education today?
Excellent, thank you, Bjorn. That really ties into everything that we've been discussing so far. I'm not going to try and hype people about Minecraft. I think Minecraft is doing a well job on its own in hyping its own existence. It's been around for what is considered an eternity in the world of video games, over 10 years now and going strong. And the fact game-based learning was always there in the educational world, I would say, even just just introducing a game-like aspect into your teaching environment is as simple as introducing a quiz, a role play discussion. So just having students being immersed in an objective where the world, the story becomes immersive. It's nothing new. However, Minecraft accelerated and brought forward, let's say, the skills that we see that I'm sharing on my slide, the skills that we see in a way that they became much more present, much more obvious. So me as a teacher, when I go inside a Minecraft environment, let's say, where students are exploring a topic, a world, coding, computer science, the SDGs, any topic. Collaboration, problem solving, the communication, the critical thinking, this what we used to call you still call the 4 Cs, are so easily identified that the teacher only needs to be a facilitator inside the environment and help the students recognize when that learning is taking place. So when students get together in a Minecraft world, in a Minecraft project to work together, and they start exploring the world, it doesn't really matter if they explore it correct or not. The creativity, the platform is there to allow for a very personalized experience. But what the students do in the moment of their immersion when they enter this portal it's in a very subconscious level. They delegate processes between them. They take ownership. They identify their skills and they contribute to the project in the way they feel most comfortable and most skillful. And the last two elements I have there, the last two skills, the empathy and agency, are extremely important, not only through game-based learning, but across the whole lifelong learning cycle of a student and beyond. Minecraft teaches empathy not only through the way we explore a world or a content, but through the way that I identify immediately with a specific role that we are attributing myself and my team inside the world. And of course, agency. The students take ownership of what they build. They dominate the tools. They don't need to be taught how to use the tool. They need to be taught what is the learning objectives. And this takes me back again to the most important part of game-based learning experiences. Context is extremely important. If somebody steps in a class and sees students playing Minecraft, they're playing a video game. The moment you understand that there is context behind it, there's skills being developed, and the teacher, based on the lesson planning experience, identifies them and puts them forward, that is extremely powerful. And it's a very organic process because students and teachers get to learn through these processes together. And that's when it becomes extremely relevant.
Thank you so much. Now, Marco, I mentioned in the introductory slides that we're facing a couple of challenges in our societies related to different areas, but in this context, of course, related to STEM. And Kyriakos mentioned, now you see it still on the slide, a couple of skills and competencies that that can be used and that can be advocated for in class with different means. Now, the question to you as an expert in digital transformation and in these areas is, how does this respond to the challenges we are facing, and which models are able to respond to these challenges we're facing?
Yes, indeed. We think about the competence that our students needed and the competence that they will need in the future. And we were talking here about the future is not just a question of a long future, okay? So if you, for example, try to take an understanding of the speed things are happening, the last wave of AI just started 9 years ago in 2012. And what happened in just a period of 10 years is really amazing. And is not in the area, once again, of the technological field, is in all different areas. We have, let's say, very important moments. Once it was when DeepMind developed a system that was able to beat the best player in Go, is the most complex game in the world. And it was not just a question as in the time when we have the IBM machine playing chess and one to Kasparov. It was all what was behind that, and there is even a move that is considered as a move that inside as what we consider as exclusive of us, the human beings, that is creativity. When the machine at that time makes that move, the big experts were saying, oh, this is something completely crazy, that makes no sense. And some moves after, what we exist is that was something really beautiful. I never play Go, okay? Just what I read and understand in terms of this. What I want to say is that we are living these times where we are getting this very blurred image of the future when we have the mix between the carbon and the silicon machines. Some people say that we are living in the area of the smart agents or the intelligent machines. And the competence that we needed is clear some of the ones that Kyriakos pointed. And we know that the 4 Cs, they have been discussing for a long time. We have been saying that are the 21st century competences needed for our students. The question is that we are already in 2021, and we keeping saying that our students need to develop this kind of competence. So is to try to identify what is the pedagogical context and the pedagogical environment that allow us in working with our students to understand this. And for me, from my opinion, one thing is very important, is for us as teachers and educators, clear understand what is happening. Try to be informed about what's happening. Have a conscience about it happen. For example, I can just put a very short question, and you can answer in the chat. How many teachers in your school know what is AI and what are the impacts of AI nowadays? And this is so tremendous in terms of the labor market, as I was saying, because until now, if school was not able to give the competences that the students need, there was a lot of jobs that didn't require any kind of higher competences, okay? And they could be work in warehouses and other type of things. The question right now is that these jobs are being replaced by these systems, and it's not only a question of automation. Right now, we are at the level of intelligent automation. So what are the schools given to the students that just start their educational path and where they finish in 12 years, for example? And of course, all these competences are very important, these 4 C's: creativity, communication, collaboration, complex problem solving. Some years ago, I said that we need one more C on the 4 C's. And one of these C's is the C of curiosity. We need to be able as teachers, even if you don't have that curriculum reform, that I say that is clearly important, in terms of students, because they will be challenged every day in school, after school, in their jobs. So that kind of life in 3 stages that just end up with our generation, that was school study, job for life, and then retire, it's completely over. And we need clear to understand. And if you want to work for a better future, the only place I can find that to work is through education. I don't know anything. If anyone knows how we can change the world and be able to live along this smart agent and so on, and all the questions that are behind this, because we know that it's tremendous questions. AI is not magic, okay? And we are the ones that are creating the AI. Until now, I don't know in 5 years if we're going to have an AI that is able to create another AI, okay? But right now, and we have so many questions around this. We have the stereotypes, we have the bias, we have all privacy and so many things. And are we discussing this with our students in school? Of course, we need this kind of technical, let's say, activities, and we have amazing research to do that. Kyriakos just talked about some, and also Vanya. For example, in Microsoft, we have the Imagine Cup. That is a great place to put students work around this and discuss solutions for problems. So nowadays we have so huge problems that I think that our intelligence only by their own is not able to solve them. So instead of an artificial intelligence, we need an augmented intelligence that is able to power and for us to be able to solve this kind of problems. So once again, I think what is clearly important is these things need to be discussed in terms of the classroom. And from there is so many resources, so many things that we can use. It will be very difficult here today to give you a description of an activity that you can do, but just try to go to your classroom and ask your students, what is AI? Do you ever use AI? Nowadays we have our students interact with the Cortanas and Siri and Alexa, and they talk to them and they ask things. What is the capital of Portugal, for example? Okay, they don't need to go to a book. So this completely changed in terms of all the environment. That's why it's so important for us to be here discussing. And it's really amazing that we have more than 100 participants here today, because this means that we have teachers that are looking to try to understand and to do this kind of activities in the way that they work with the students. And of course, the resources that was presented here are really amazing. And we have other ones from European Schoolnet, for example, in School Academy, we have a MOOC about AI. Also, 2 years ago, I hosted a webinar about artificial intelligence and education in school education, the gateway. You have the code hour through Minecraft. You also have AI activities. But what is important is, what is AI? How AI is impacting us today, and bring this to your school. For sure that you are going to have the support of all these institutions, European Schoolnet and Microsoft and all the others. So give you the support that you need to talk about this.
Thank you so much, Marco. And with this being said, before we do a last round of the last advice that you have to our audience today, I would like to open the floor at the end of our session now to the questions and answers session. So if in our audience we have anyone who would like to raise a question to our speaking panel, then please raise your hand and we will unmute you. So you can actually interact live with our speakers. And I see already that we have some hands raised here. So Shital, Jalan.
Thank you for the wonderful seminar so far. My question is, I was particularly interested in the part where, we could use Minecraft for the code week. So where can I find more details about it?
Maybe this question, Vanya, do you want to reply to that?
Yes, for sure, for sure. We will paste the links here in the chat, and I think that Joanna already did it, but perhaps she can do it again. And we will give you the details of how you can address that with your students. I also published, I believe, today or yesterday, an article as well on that topic. I will also try to put here the link, because you will find also, information about the Computer Science Toolkit and all of the rest of the Code Week materials that we have put together. Okay, Shital?
Thank you. And if I understood correctly, this particular edition of Minecraft, it will be available for free only for the Code Week, right?
Exactly. Normally during the Code Week, the challenges that are available for the Code Week, they are for free. But of course, you need to have an education account to be able to address, to assess, to access Minecraft education. Okay. But if you go to the site, you just download it. If you have an education account, it will open, right? And then you can choose from the library the Code Week materials, and you will also see the previous year's Code Week. So if you also want to put your students, for example, to do the AI that was from last year and the year before, I think they are still all available there as well.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. If anyone else has a question, please raise your hand. Otherwise, we've also received some questions in the chat. So, for instance, from Thomas, what ethical concerns do you have in the integration of artificial intelligence in teaching, learning, and assessment? And I think this already touches upon what Marco mentioned. So maybe, Marco, if you want to very shortly, because we only have 4 minutes left, if you want to reply to that.
Yes, I will try to be short. Okay. Yes, there is questions around this in terms of the use of AI in this particular field, because in terms of AI, we can see mainly three contenders where we can use AI in education. One of them is learning for AI. So mainly is cross-curriculum to all subjects, okay, because it's impacting everything. What are the competencies, what I need to know about AI in general. Another one is learning AI, because we clearly know right now that we're going to need lots of professions, not only in terms of AI, data science, and so on. And this is a key question for Europe in the next years. It's not just a question of education. If you see the big geopolitical blocks like the USA, and mainly in Asia, China, Singapore, and South Korea, we're going to need to have these professionals in terms of put also Europe in terms of the whole context. And the other one is learning with AI, and the question was related with that, and is mainly using AI to support the learning and teaching process. And of course, assessment is a part of that. And once again, I have lots of concerns around here, because Mainly what I have been seeing so far in terms of what is developed to support the learning and teaching process is to individualize the teacher and give, let's say, the command to the teaching and learning process to an algorithm, mainly to a black box algorithm, using what data and define the paths of the student. I'm not saying that AI is not very useful, of course, and has a lot of potential, mainly to free the teacher for most of the things that we don't like so much to do, as Kyriakos know, and I know as teachers, of course, but we need to be aware of that. That's why we should not having AI and learning and teaching process as a black box, but rather than an open box, and have to pay clear attention. What data is being used? Why? How this data was collected? How the algorithm is using this data? Because we are talking here about what will be the decisions made in terms of the future of a young children. Okay, so this is very critical in terms of this. Short. Sorry that I was never short, but
the last question now goes to Kyriakos, and we have a question from Katerina. Sorry, so we actually have two questions. One from Ebi, who is wondering if, for example, if we use Tinkercad in classroom, she's wondering if this is enough for artificial intelligence, or if other aspects such as robotics, or she mentions other programs, if this should also be used. So what I think the underlying question is what qualifies as artificial intelligence, and maybe just to wrap this up, what final advice do you have to teachers when it comes to the implementation?
Okay, thank you. That's also a very long question, and I need to keep it very short. What classifies as AI, and I think based on everything that Mark also mentioned, and I've also tried to introduce in my school as well, is exactly that. Introducing robots in the classroom through coding, it's an excellent way to teach coding, as well as how we can automate processes through a robot and eventually scale them up. With students in the classroom, what I've seen most comfortably working with is understanding how AI gathers and processes data, especially through a concept called the machine learning, which is an AI concept that really helps students wrap their head around that. So obviously, working with, let's say, machine learning and AI involves a lot of development before that. The Imagine Cup Junior is an excellent opportunity, and it doesn't involve any practical hands-on tools. It's all about exploring topics that we can solve with AI. The AI for Good activities on code.org is an excellent curricular path for students to interact with the online portal, how AI helps, let's say, gather garbage in the ocean and make oceans cleaner. So these concepts can really help later on simulate them with a robot in order to create something that is tangible. So maybe the product itself can be AI, but is connected to that concept.
Okay, perfect. So with this, I am closing the session for today, and I would just like to direct the attention again to the participation list. So please fill out this form if you want to receive a certificate. And also, we would be very happy to hear your feedback on how this webinar and the interaction today went. Finally, I have some news from the STEM Alliance. We do have a LinkedIn account now, so follow us there if you're interested. And I'm also very excited that we've just released our autumn newsletter with the latest news from STEM fields and the STEM Alliance. Now, this being said, it's been a pleasure. Thank you to everyone, and thanks especially to our three speakers today for joining us and engaging with the audience. Thank you so much, and have a good evening. Bye-bye.